But doc, I don't like vegetables. They just don't taste right. Well, guess what? You're going to have to get to like them. And the only way for you to get to like vegetables is to start eating them. Think about it. When babies start eating, there are a lot of things they don't like. But do we just stop giving them these foods? No, we keep prompting them and coaxing them and trying the different foods over and over again. And eventually they grow to like most of them without any problems. And that is what we as adults have to get to do as well. This is a discussion I had with a patient just now, a diabetic patient, a lot of problems. He was diagnosed with diabetes only 7 years ago, but really and truly looking at all the complications he has, he was probably diabetic for many years before he got his diagnosis. And unfortunately, even after the diagnosis, he for maybe varying reasons just was not able to get it under control. And so he has had A1C levels, and anybody who's diabetic or pre-diabetic will know what that means, but it's essentially a number that gives the average of your blood glucose levels over the preceding 3-month period. Now, ideally, that number should be less than 5.7%. For diabetic, we kind of want it close to 6.5% or less, but certainly when it's approaching 10, 11, 12%, it is way out of control. And for this patient, his A1C is 11.2%, and it's been above 10% for several years. So unfortunately, he's at the point where he has lost one leg, his kidneys are not functioning properly at all, and now he's suffering from a serious infection in another part of his body from the leg. And I guess you can say we had a kind of come to Jesus moment where he's saying he's confused because nobody's telling him anything. And I understand and identify with where he's coming from, because a lot of times you go to the doctor and it's just a rushed visit, and there's just not enough time to really sit down and delve into some of the issues, right, that you are experiencing, and some of the hard reasons, trying to figure out some of the hard reasons why you're not getting the diabetes under control. And so you can say we had this sort of come to Jesus moment where I said, look, you're having this bad infection now, and if you really, really, really want to kind of turn things around for yourself, or certainly halt the progression, because for what I can see, that he's now heading towards losing his other leg, getting on dialysis, becoming blind, maybe sustaining a massive heart attack or stroke, and really not being able to enjoy his golden years. He's only in his 50s, but he's not really progressing to have a nice, productive, healthy life, okay? And so this come to Jesus moment involved me saying, look, if you really want to kick this infection and halt your progression, you have to change how you eat drastically, right? Meaning, if you see everybody else around you eating a certain thing, chances are that is not what you're supposed to eat, right? And so he's like, of course he's like, well, what am I supposed to eat then, right? So I said, look, it comes down, we always talk about real food. Now, of course, I had to break it down for this man. What is real food? I said, look, if it's something that's packaged and has a long list of ingredients, 10, 20, 30 ingredients, that's not going to be real food. It's going to be something that's super processed, right? What to eat? Meat, vegetables, right? Those should form the main, those should be the main items on your plate. Half your plate of vegetables, right? And then is when he said, but doc, I don't like vegetables. So I said, well, you have to get to like vegetables, because if you're not going to eat vegetables, what are you going to eat? Plain meat? No. We know that starch is really not much better than sugar, because starch is a string of glucose molecules, and it's going to break straight down to blood sugar in your system. So that alone is not going to solve your problem. If you're going to have a little starch, you certainly need some vegetables with it, because you need the fiber to go with that starch to slow down the digestion and absorption of glucose into your bloodstream. You need vegetables, have to be a major part of any meals. So if you don't like vegetables, you have to get to like them. Vegetables now, what kind of vegetables? I'm not just talking about some canned corn and carrots. I'm talking about broccoli, salad, lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, and so on. And now you don't have to buy your lettuce and wash it and strip it and so on. You can buy a packaged salad that's triple washed, pre-washed, triple pre-washed, right? Spinach, cauliflower, carrots, squash, what else? string beans, right? Then of course legumes, those are not vegetables, but they're a pretty good source of fiber as well. Okay, and so half your plate with whatever variety of vegetables. And I told him, okay, you don't like the taste, what you can do, steam it a little bit and put some butter on it. Butter will make many things taste good, particularly vegetables. So you can lightly steam your vegetables and then put a good bit of butter. I'm not talking about margarine, I'm talking about good real butter, and that will make your vegetables taste good. If you want to get fancy, you can go with, stir frying and maybe grilling or whatever. But if you just want to keep it simple and have this to eat but still be able to enjoy it, I would say lightly steam the vegetables. Whatever, you can steam any vegetable, and you can steam from 3 to 5 minutes, and while it's still warm, you put your butter on it so it melts nicely and you enjoy your vegetables. Half your plate with vegetables, quarter of your plate with meat. He said, what meat? So I said, look, not the deli meats, because a lot of those have sugar anyway, sausages, the ham, and those meats that they slice. You will look at the ingredient and see a long list of additives, preservatives, flavor enhancers, sugar, etc. Those are not the meats you want. Now, I live in Mississippi. A lot of people here hunt. So I said, look, wild meat, game meat. You can have your deer and whatever other wild meat people hunt for. Now, those might take you might have to get the acquired taste of those, because wild meat is going to have a different taste to the meats that are, like enhanced with growth hormones and, antibiotics and all sorts of things. They're raised in a certain way, fed grain and so on, and these things change the flavor of meat. So the meat that you've been accustomed to since childhood, because these commercially produced meats, it's been several decades now, so you're gonna have to get used to maybe wild meat or game meat. If you can't bring yourself to get used to that, then just look for meat that is not processed in the supermarket, not sliced, packaged with lots of things on the ingredient list. Or you can have fish, right? If you're not maybe near a coastal area where you can get relatively fresh fish, you can get fish in the can. He said, but what about the salt in that? Because of course he has his kidney problems, so he's concerned about salt. So I said, well, actually canned salmon, which is, we buy that, it comes in water. So you can most likely find types of canned fish that just come in water, so you don't have to worry too much about the salt, right? And there might be other meats as well that come in cans. I don't really eat meat. Well, I don't eat meat, I just eat fish. So I'm not sure about, the other meats and how they'll come, but you can, look into the different options. And you probably have to spend some time in a supermarket to see what the different options are, right? Half your plate vegetables, quarter as meat, and then okay, you might have some starch, but again, you want to really avoid the super processed, refined starches, the white rice, the white potato, the white pasta. Now we have pasta made from beans, and there are different, variety of brands available now, variety of types, and sometimes you just have to try different types, different brands to see which one you like the best, right? So you can do that. Now, another thing I should say is that, we always feel like we have to have starch on our plate, but the vegetables have starch, and some vegetables are starchier than others. So like pumpkin and squash and even carrots, those are starchy types of vegetables. So you might not necessarily have to have a specific starch on your plate every time, right? But if you do, maybe some, sweet potatoes, you can have brown rice, or better yet, black rice. But even if you have starch, try not to let it exceed more than 25% or quarter of your plate. And this is how you're going to do it, right? When you're trying to change how you eat, you have to understand that you're not it's not going to be as enjoyable and tasty in the beginning, because you're going to have to get your taste buds used to these foods. Like I said at the start of this, babies have to get used to the different foods. They were getting milk first, and then they were getting formula. I remember vividly, my son was addicted to formula to the point where he didn't want the real food. He didn't want, we would give him food and he didn't want it because the formula was so tasty. And I subsequently realized it was because the formula actually had sugar. It was sweet. So he really preferred that over real food. So you might say, oh my, these things taste awful. But if you keep it something, your taste buds, and you just get used to it. And then knowing that, hey, this is helping my body, this is building up my body. I have serious problems now, and I would like to be here for my grandchildren. And also, I would like to be here not just existing, but actually living and participating in life, right? That's what being alive is about, being able to interact and participate with life and enjoy the other pleasures of life, not just, you know, those kind of foods that are bad for us, right? So yes, that's kind of the message I want to give you, that yes, you might not like things, but you'd be surprised that once you keep at these foods that are good for you, the real unprocessed wholesome foods, you will like I promise you, you will grow to like them. The processed foods are specifically designed to be like super tasty, like hyper tasty, hyper palatable, and even addictive, so that you can keep eating more and more. They're like literally designed to be like that. When you go to the unprocessed foods, they're going to tend to be a little more grainy, and in some cases, well, obviously not as sweet, because you're not going to be having all that, you know, added sugar and so on. So it'll be different. It'll be very different. But once you get used to that, and especially when you wean yourself off the taste of sugar, and then you go back to having something sweet, and you're going to wonder, oh my goodness, like this is syrup. This is just so sweet. Last thing I say is that the patient also asked me about things to drink. And I said, look, I'm not going to tell you to do something that I'm not personally doing myself. I drink only water, and I brew my tea. I have my kettle right here in my office, and of course at home I would have that. I boil my water. I have my tea bags, a variety here, and I make my own tea, and I put no sweetener in them. And that's what I told him, no sweetener. And don't try to replace the sweeteners with these substitutes, sweet and low equal. Those will not help you at all. They are just masking the problem, which is you're probably sort of almost, well, dependence on sugar. Like you have your taste buds dependent on sugar, and you want to wean yourself off all things sugar and sweet so that you are free from the hold of sugar. Okay, so I hope this has helped you. And again, where there's a will, there's a way. And so if you really are at a point where you need to make changes, just decide that you're going to do it and start doing it. And if you can get somebody with you to support you, a little buddy or so, then even better. All right, have a good day. Thanks for watching.